Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. This is going to be my November reading wrap up. We're like a week into December because I don't know, I just feel like I can't cope with the fact that we're so far through the year. So it just wasn't really on my radar that November was done. So I never counted how many books I read in November. So let me just count real quick. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Ugh, I can't count under pressure. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I think 16. So we're gonna go with that. So I read a lot of my physical books that have been on my TBR, which is great because I'm just like trying to get through my physical TBR. So at the end of the year, maybe I'll do a little wrap up and say how much of that winter TBR I actually got through, because I mean, it was a stack. It was a lot of books. All right. So the first book that I read, the first book that I finished in November, because I had actually started this already, was Legacy. So this is Keeper of the Lost Cities Legacy. So I think this is the 8th book. It's the 8th or the 9th. So the first is Keeper of the Lost Cities, and it's about Sophie, who is, she thinks she's a human girl, but her life has been strange, and then she meets someone and finds out that she's an elf, but she's also like a special elf. I've talked about this series many times because I've been reading through this whole thing. So this book is like 700 pages, but it's a middle grade, so it's easy to read. It's just a lot of pages. It's a very good fantasy series. I love it. This one I gave 3 stars to, mostly because they just kind of keep like rehashing the same thing over and over again, and it's like quite a few pages of that. So like I feel like you could have shaved off some of these pages for how, like, the story's still very good, but that's why I took off some stars. And then I read The One by John Mars. Sorry, Mabel's entering the room and sneezing. And so this book is the premise that based on your DNA, you have a soulmate, so like a perfect match. I've also read The Soulmate Equation, which was a similar, but that was more like a romantic love story. This is more of a thriller. This was very interesting. I would not say that this like has a great ending. Like it's good. It's good the whole way through. Like once you get started, you are hooked. So one of the storylines is a man who thinks he's straight his whole life is his perfect match is a man. And then like has to come to terms with that. Another is the owner of the company. And one is a serial killer. And it's just amazing. So yeah, it's a thriller. It's a lot like ethically kind of lots of questions. And there's like marriages that are being broken up because people are taking this like DNA test and finding out that they're not a perfect match. Yeah, I would highly recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. Loved it. The next book that I read was Legendborn, so I listened to it. So this is a like YA fantasy. So the main character, Bree, her mom died in a car accident, was a little bit suspicious. And she is accepted to the UNC like undergrad program. So not undergrad, like she's like a senior in high school. So it's like a high school program. So she goes to campus and then finds out that there's like demons and maybe she has some special powers. And there's a lot of like Southern like racial history and like slave master slave kind of situation, like historical or like related to these powers. So very interesting premise. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I will be reading, I think the second one is Blood Marked. So I find this very interesting. Very good. Then I listened to The Paris Apartment, which I feel like has been on my TBR forever because this one has been hyped like crazy. So I gave it 4 stars. It was a good mystery. So the main character, it gets herself into some trouble. You find a little bit about what happens to her, but so her name is Jess. She goes to her brother, I think Ben. I think his name is Ben. She goes to his parents' apartment where he's supposed to be and he's not. And so then she's looking for him. Everyone in the building is being very suspicious. She has to kind of figure out like his relationships with all of them, like why they're being suspicious, and figure out where Ben is and what's going on. Yeah, it was fast moving. It was enjoyable to listen to. It didn't really knock my socks off, but it was a good mystery. And then I read Killing the Killers. So I'm sure I've talked about this series before. Maybe. I don't know. So Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard write the Killing series. So Killing Lincoln, Killing Kennedy, Killing Jesus. It talks about like conspiracy, like the truth behind the conspiracy and like what the conspiracy is. So Killing the Killers is about terrorism. And it starts with the death of Osama bin Laden and then gets into like ISIS. So yeah, very, very interesting. I guess I live a pretty sheltered life and I don't know what's all going on in the Middle East and like some of the awful things that these terrorists are doing to people. So yeah, I'm like, these books are all like, it reads so well. It's so interesting. So I think I gave it 5 stars. Yeah, 5 stars. This is like my favorite type of nonfiction is, I don't know, it's kind of like, yeah, like I love stories of like people's deaths and conspiracies. And like, if you want to read one of these, I would say Killing Lincoln. Mind-boggling. So good. Mind-boggling. Loved it. This one was very good. Then I read the graphic novel Pumpkinhead. So this is by Rain Morrell and illustrated by Faith Erin Hicks. It's like such a cute little graphic novel. So the premise is that the two best friends are going to college, and so they are working in their pumpkin patch that they've always worked in for the last time. And then of course they're like, sparks fly, but you get to like go through like the corn mazes and like all the fun things that they have going on. It's just a very it's very great, like great illustrations and very fall feel, very cozy, not high stakes. So very cute. I'll probably read this every fall. It's just really cute. It's like a one sitting book. So if you don't love like big long novels, I highly recommend graphic novels. They're really cool. It's so nice to be able to like sit down and just read it. I normally read these in one sitting or 2 sittings. And the illustrations are amazing too. I mean, not all graphic novels are equal, but this is a great one. So I gave this one 5 stars. It was everything that I wanted for the fall feels. Then I read Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match. So this is by Sally Thorne, the author of The Hating Game. If you've ever gotten a book recommendation from me, you have heard of The Hating Game. Maybe my favorite book. And this is no different. Very different premise. Very different. But like the romance, the little bit of spice, the banter, so good. I will read anything that Sally Thorne writes. I have not loved them all the same, but this one was good. So the premise is that Angelica Frankenstein is Dr. Frankenstein's sister. Yep, I said that right. And so he's working on his project, and she is a spinster I think she's in her 20s. And so she decides to make a husband. So they like piece together different body parts to make the perfect husband. And then he wakes up and chaos. It's just great. It was funny. I loved all the characters. It had a lot of heart in it. It was great. 5 stars. Well, actually, apparently I gave it 4 stars, but that was past Rachel. Current Rachel would give this 5 stars because the feelings I have about it now are even stronger. I loved this book. Really great. Then I read House of Leaves. This took me probably 2 months. Now I can sit down and read for hours. This book was awful. Awful. It was 700 pages. Some pages are like this. And some pages are like blank. So I thought, oh, what a cool premise, right? Like this is like a non-linear story. There's like multiple, it's like written in all different like forms. So it's like a movie script and interviews and letters and like in the margins there's like commentary. It was awful. It wasn't entertaining. One of the commentators just said crass things. I just don't feel like it had anything to do with anything. Just I didn't find it scary. And I feel like because the premise was so cool, I was into it. This was like, it's like a haunted house. Like, and then people are like haunted just knowing about this house. It wasn't scary. I just feel like you didn't like the characters. It didn't seem like there was no like follow through. It was just kind of like, well, and then that character was gone. Like even the ones that did die, it just wasn't, it was like finally someone died. Finally something happened. There were stakes. And then it was done and it was like, are you freaking kidding me? So 1 star, I would give it 0, but I should give it 0. But I didn't know how to like rate 0 stars just because it's different than a no rating. A no rating is like, I don't feel like I can judge this. I can judge this. I'm judging this. It was awful. Don't read it. Like I don't know that there's an audience for this. It was bad. It was really bad. So yuck. And I was hoping it was going to be scary because it was like listed as like one of the books that messes with your life because it's so scary. Not scary. Fake. All right. And then like a 180, thank God. So I read, it's like the 6th book. I thought it was the 4th. My friend like pulled her thing up and was like, it's like the 6th. This is The Ink Black Heart. So this is Cormoran Strike is a private investigator. Robert Galbraith is the pen name of J.K. Rowling. So yeah, Harry Potter level, like so good. Like details that just like tie in. So Cormoran Strike is our main character. And Robin, I should know her last name. So they are co-private investigators. They're in love. They won't admit it. So the tension between them is always great. I think I took a point off because I need something to happen between them. We're 6 books in, you know? This was 33 hours in an audiobook. That's long. So I don't know how many pages it's a big book. I guess I actually did look it up. Oh, 944 pages if I had read it. I listened to it. Such a good audiobook. Like, would highly, highly recommend this series. So Cuckoo's Calling is the first. And I don't think that one's as big. I think, like, they've gotten bigger and bigger. Just like the Harry Potter ones. Because, you know, you fall in love with your characters. So The Ink Black Heart, this one is about the writers of a adult cartoon, The Ink Black Heart, one is murdered, one is like attacked, and trying to figure out who did it. And lots of intrigue. So good. So highly recommend. I gave it 4 stars. And then we have The Toll by Neil Shusterman. So this is the 3rd in the Arc of the Scythe series. So Scythe, the premise is that humanity has beat death. So, like, you don't die of disease. You don't die of, like, suicide because they can, like, just reset you. And then, so then to control the population, you have to do something. So they have these scythes who are, like, trained to basically cull the population. And they are able to do it in all different ways, but they kind of have, like, they're like, it's like the order of the scythes. So they have their own laws, but they have to meet, like, certain quotas because you can't just, like, cull one area and not others. So the first book is 2 scythes that are, like, being trained to be scythes. So very cool. So now this is the 3rd and the final book, and much has happened over the series. So I don't feel like I can tell you what happens, but this was a great conclusion. I liked it a lot. I gave it 4 stars. I don't remember why I took a star off. I just feel like there was a lot. I think it dragged in some areas. I don't know, but maybe like 4.5 stars. This was a great book that I highly recommend if you like. It's not like fantasy. It's more like Hunger Games, like the like dystopian. So if you like that, very good. It is quite thick, but it reads so fast. There's actually not that many like words on a page. Short chapters. Yeah, I think it's YA. So good. I'm happy to like be done with the series. I love being done with series. And then I read one of my book of the months from a long time ago, a year ago, December 2021. So A Flicker in the Dark. And I think this is like on Goodreads lists for one of the best books, like one of the best thrillers of the year. And it was good. Like, I mean, hooked from like the first 2 lines. I read this in just a few sittings. So our main character was, well, as a child, her dad allegedly stole women and killed them, like over a summer, like I think like 6 like teenagers, which, I mean, I feel like you kind of know, like, that's probably not what happened, because then current day, she's like in her 30s and women start disappearing. She's not even in the same town. And then it just does such a good job of like, this one's for sure the murder. No, this one is. No, this one is. So, she's also like not super truthful. So you're kind of like, what if she's the murderer? Like, who knows? So I gave this one 4 stars. I recommend this. This is a good one. And then I listened to Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. I think this is their most recent. So they are like a friend writing duo. And they wrote The Unhoneymooners, which I've given 5 stars to. And The Soulmate Equation was also by them. So normally like romance, like with like fun premises. This is also a romance. But it's a little more like adventure. Like they were kind of dabbling in adventure. So the main character is, she leads like wilderness, like tours, kind of. So like she has horses. You go on horses through, I think Utah. I want to say Utah. And like pretend like you're looking for treasure, and then you find like whatever she planted there. But her dad was actually a treasure hunter, and there's like this fantastical treasure that is supposed to be out there. Well, on this excursion, her ex-boyfriend is on it. They're still in love. So it's a love story. It's adventure. They're like shot at, chased. They're trying to get this treasure. It was good. I liked it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was just a little, like, it was a little far-fetched at times. It just, yeah. But it was entertaining. So I don't not recommend this. It was good. I also think maybe I would have liked it better if I read the book. I don't know if I loved the audiobook. And then I read the graphic novel, The Magic Fish. So this is about a boy whose mom immigrated from Vietnam, and they have like family stuff that's happening, personal things that are happening, and like they're telling like stories about like mermaids and princesses, and the like drawings are gorgeous. And it's like kind of a very emotional little story. So yeah, I would recommend this one. I would give this 5 stars. It was like a sit down and read it through. I really liked it. And then I listened to The Sun Does Shine. So this is the story of Anthony Ray Hinton. So if you've read Just Mercy, that is like his story is through it, or if you saw the movie, that's his story. He is someone who was wrongly convicted on death row and was released after like 35 years, which just, I cannot comprehend. And he has like an amazing attitude. So this book was great. I will not be rating this. I don't think that you can rate something like this. It was well written. It kept me listening. Like, I mean, I thought I was gonna like read it over like 3 or 4 days, and I just kept listening, like had it on all the time. I can't wait to discuss this with my book club, especially because we've already talked about Just Mercy, and we went to see the movie together when it was released. So yeah, heavy topic, but it's great. And I do think that more people need to know about the prison system in America and how awful it is. So The Sun Does Shine. I highly recommend it for nonfiction if you're looking for one. And then I read God's Grave. So this is the follow-up to Nevernight. Nevernight is the story of Mia Corvair. Her dad was like part of a power regime and was murdered, so like she's out for revenge now. So in the first book she becomes an assassin. I don't feel like I can tell you that much about the story. It's a fantasy. It's so good. Like it is a lot of pages and little words, and I read these so fast because it is just such a fast-paced story. And it ended on a cliffhanger. So we'll see how long I can like hold myself in before I go and buy the third one, which I will be buying. I just have a lot of other physical books that I want to read first. But so this I gave 5 stars. Yeah, just wanted to verify. I gave it 5 stars in my mind currently and in the past. So this was just a cool premise because like the first was like school, kind of like a dark academia, assassin. This was like Gladiator. And that's all I'm going to say. But it was really good. So the sun is like setting. The lighting is still okay on my phone, but like I can barely see. So I'm just going to finish. I have a couple books left. So The Paper Girls 1 is a graphic novel that I just like quick read. These graphic novels I got from Libby. So just like got them as ebooks and just like flipped through them. They're beautiful. Like they're like full size. So Paper Girls are these 12-year-olds who smoke cigarettes apparently. They have a paper route and there are aliens attacking them. So it was kind of like a Stranger Things vibe. I think it's set in the 80s, like 80s or 90s, and yeah, it must be a series because it definitely was like left on a cliffhanger. So I will be reading more of these. This was great. I don't have this written down in my book. I would probably like 4 stars. It was entertaining. And then I finished The Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna. This has been on my TBR for such a long time. There's not an audiobook for this from my library, so I had to like read it as an ebook. Not my favorite. Like I don't love to read on my iPad unless I'm like traveling. And I didn't want to read this like on my cruiser in the summer because it's called The Winter Garden. But this was great. So this, I'm sure I gave it like 4 stars, 4 or 5. Kristen Hanna is great when it comes to like historical fiction. So this is the story of a woman who was alive during the siege of Leningrad. So World War II. And again, I love a World War II book that's from a point of view that you don't normally hear. So like we hear a lot of, I feel more like American and French and French and like, you know, being occupied. So to hear like Russian perspective, I think is so interesting. And this is more like her trauma from that. So she's like telling her story and like why she has such a bad relationship with her daughters. Yeah, it was good. It was very good. And very much like winter vibes, like great winter read if you're ready to feel something. I didn't cry. Well, I don't think I cried, but it was very good. So those are the books I read. So I think it's actually like 17 because I didn't have Paper Girls on there. So 3 graphic novels, quite a few audiobooks, lots of physical books. And I have still been reading a lot in December. So we'll see how many books I get through by the end of the year. It's already way above my goal. So feel free to comment any like good winter reads, because I feel like especially in January I'm going to want to read like, you know, when it's like super snowy, I want to read like winter books, not necessarily Christmas, but if you have good Christmas books too. I just feel like it's hard to like find good winter books. And then I'll do like an Instagram, Facebook post about like ones that I own that are like wintry vibes, so that like if you wanted to read some, you could. All right. I will see you next time.